Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Hello again. Now, you might think today is just a boring, average old Thursday in January. Well, you'd be wrong. Today is Fat Cat Thursday, and that's because by today, the average FTSE 100 CEO will have already been paid what a typical UK worker earns in an entire year after just 3 working days of the year. It's only January the 4th. Well, I'm joined now by Stefan Stern. He's the director of the High Pay Centre, who conducted research into these figures. So what's your research highlighted?
Well, what we see is that, yes, as you mentioned, after about 32 hours of work at their average hourly rate, a FTSE 100 boss will have already pulled in about £28,700, which is what the average UK worker is going to take all year to earn. It just emphasises how vast that gap in pay is between the top and the rest of us.
But the gap has come down. There is a little bit of good news here, isn't there?
Yes, in the last year we saw the system slowly cranking into life and beginning to work slightly better in the way it's supposed to, but it's only been 1 year. Companies knew they were in the political spotlight. The government had set out its intentions to act if there wasn't better behaviour from boards and shareholders. So yeah, it was 1 year of modest progress, but we've got a long way to go to get back to the sort of pay gaps we had 20 years ago, for example. Yeah,
you talk about that. 20 years ago, the pay gap was about 45 to 1, wasn't it, comparing the salary of the CEO to the average worker? We thought that was shocking, but now it's sort of astronomical, isn't it?
You make a very good point, because you'll remember 20-odd years ago the fuss over British Gas and Cedric the Pig and the first shock horror headlines. We've had 20 or more years of that, and it's happened gradually, bit by bit. And this is what I mean about the system not working. Everyone involved in it has kind of acquiesced. They've allowed this to happen, and like weight gain, something we all know a bit about at this time of the year, we actually turn out 20 years later to have this massive gap between top and average. And it's not that the bosses are so much better than they used to be, or that the job's so much harder. It's just happened, and that's why intervention from the government was necessary and more attention is needed.
Now, you know what I'm going to say, don't you? CEOs are doing a fantastic job. Unemployment is incredibly low. They are providing work for many people. Companies are going from strength to strength. They should be paid this.
Well, these are quite big and difficult jobs, that's certainly true. They're getting paid much more than they used to. The best bit of research I've seen was a 10-year study of the FTSE 350, the 350 biggest companies. And over a 10-year period, Lancaster University Management School found no link at all between the greatly increased pay at the top and the real performance, of the return on invested capital, to use the technical term, performance of these businesses. So yes, it looks like there's been some skillful financial engineering. These companies are buying back their own shares. They're paying quite good dividend to keep the shareholders happy. But actually, look at the productivity problem, look at the quality of working life, and look at low wages for everybody else. You see, that's the other big problem we haven't mentioned yet. The gap has grown partly because wages have been flat for most people over these past 10 years. And that's another way we could address the gap, of course, is to give people a pay rise lower down the pay scale.
Yeah, well, that's very true. I was just looking at various different examples. I know when the Burberry CEO left, it wiped £500 million off the share price because the markets were so frightened by her leaving. Doesn't that sort of give you a sense of the importance that certain individuals do have in a company?
Well, I wouldn't take the short-term emotional overreaction of stock markets as a particularly serious indicator of anything, frankly. What you have to look at is what the share price was doing 18 months later, and we overemphasise the impact of one individual. Yes, leadership is important, of course it is, but leadership is also a team activity. I mean, from a governance point of view, we don't want CEOs taking decisions on their own. It should be board level and senior management level decisions. So why one individual gets paid so much more than everybody else is also a pretty curious phenomenon to me.
All right, we must leave it there. Stefan Stern, Director of the High Pay Centre. Many thanks for being with us.
Thank you.